The weapons, gear, and components in Anthem have huge implications on the way your character fights, and as you collect more pieces, you can start combining them in your loadout to make a fully fleshed out build. After playing for 50 hours, I've collected enough items to make a build for the Ranger that feels complete and powerful. Today we're going to dive into that build and talk about my process for making it and how to use it in battle. Let's get started. When constructing a build in Anthem, I like to start with a single weapon, gear piece, or component as the foundation for the rest of the build. For today's build, it's the Masterwork Frost Grenade Cold-Blooded. This grenade is a primer that applies the ice status to enemies caught in its radius, but it does not deal damage. The Cold-Blooded's additional effect, Winter Strength, grants a buff that increases your melee damage by 135% for 10 seconds whenever the ice effect is applied to a target. With this gear piece equipped, we have a lot to think about. First, we don't want any components that increase grenade damage because the grenade doesn't do damage. Additionally, since the Winter Strength buff is upping our melee damage, it'd be a good idea to stack other buffs to melee damage as well. Which brings us to item number 2, the Unending Battle Masterwork Machine Pistol. Its additional effect is called Gladiator's Wrath. Hitting an enemy at close range increases weapon and melee damage by 110% for 5 seconds. Now we have another consideration to make. Do we continue to go all in and make a melee focused build, or do we go for versatility? I'm gonna go with versatility. For my assault launcher, our second piece of offensive gear, I'll be using the Recurring Vengeance Masterwork Seeking Missile. After defeating an enemy with the ability, it regains a charge, and this additional effect can occur once every 7.5 seconds. I like the Seeking Missile a lot because it can knock hovering enemies out of the sky, which allows for easy focus fire for myself and the rest of my team. For the final pieces of our build, we need components and a second weapon. Again, we could further increase our melee damage, but I'm looking to create something more well-rounded, so my components will reflect that. In my first 2 slots, I have Airborne Advantage and Convergence Core. Both of these components are increasing my impact damage. Impact damage increases the damage of bullets and single target abilities like Seeking Missile. Next, I want to buff my Assault Launcher because that's my only detonator. The Badge of Devastation Masterwork and Assault Augment each give a 5% increase to Assault Launcher damage. For our final 2 slots, since we'll be freezing enemies constantly with our grenade and our Seeking Missile is our detonator, I'll be using 2 components to increase my combo damage. The Tip of the Spear Masterwork and Ranger Combo Augment. Last but certainly not least, for my second weapon, I'm using the Siegebreaker Masterwork Sniper Rifle. Its additional effect says on a hit streak of 3, shots freeze the target. This is great for dealing with turrets from long range and large, difficult to prime enemies like the Ursics. So, that was a lot. The builds in Anthem have a lot of moving pieces, but don't worry, we're going to go out into the field and test out the build and talk more about how all these pieces work together. Alright folks, for today's testing, we are diving into the middle of a contract on the Grandmaster 1 difficulty, and we're running through the contract solo. I've already completed the first section of it because it was a little bit boring. We were just killing scorpions, but this next part we have to deal with some outlaws, so this is going to be a much more challenging set of enemies, and it's really going to push the strengths and weaknesses of the build to their extremes. So let's get to it. We are already at the set location. We see a lot of red dots on our map, and we'll start off by priming that guy and then detonating him. We've got both of our buffs active at the same time, Striker's Savagery and Winter's Strength. Winter's Strength, of course, from the Cold-Blooded Grenade. Striker's Savagery from our Machine Pistol. Once all of our buffs are rolling at the same time, we go in for those melees and get some nice primes and some nice damage on the enemies as well. Just blast that guy in the face, move in for the melee. Did a whole bunch of damage, got some primes out as well. And that's the gist of the rotation for this build. We try and keep our buffs running as consistently as possible, so we get a lot of damage on our melee strikes, because I do like to use them often and consistently because they are powerful. I got a phone call. That's such a wonderful time. So like I was saying, there is a big difference in the amount of damage we do when we have our buffs active and when we don't. So we want to try and keep those buffs active as often as possible. Ooh, I'm taking a lot of damage there. So we'll use our ultimate to restore our health and gain a brief window of immunity. So that is the general rotation for the build. Keep those buffs running and run in, get those melees whenever possible. There aren't too many high-level outlaws in this encounter right now, so I'm able to just run around very freely and use my melee pretty much as often as I want to, and that does feel good. There are occasions, though, when the enemy types that you're fighting are just far too strong, and you have to play a little bit more reserved, and that's where the weakness of the build comes into play a little bit. Our range is limited with our machine pistol. You see that reticle blooms out very large, and this guy is chewing us up. Now, because he has a shield, we cannot apply the damage buff to our melee from the cold-blooded. Ooh, let's knock him out of the sky with our missile and try to freeze him before he kills me. He did not get primed, and I'm dead. Alright, this time we're going to deal with the Outlaw Lancer without dying. I wasn't aware that I wouldn't be able to prime him with a single frost grenade. That would have really changed the way I approached the fight. So we'll throw out the frost grenade, switch up. He gets primed this time. That's weird. But you know what? Now that we have his shield down, I'm going to just keep him primed with the sniper rifle, and then we'll finish him off with a combo. Huh, I must have missed my frost grenade in the last time because he didn't get primed when I threw it at him. That was unfortunate. But in the end, we got the cleanup nicely. We knocked him out of the sky with our Seeking Missile. That is a fantastic functionality for that ability. It's great for Scar Hunters, great for the enemy Ranger Javelins. It does not work against enemy Storm Javelins, unfortunately, but that's okay. Alright, moving into the next area, we have to eliminate some Scar for this contract, so we'll probably see some Hunters that we have to knock out of the sky. So straight away I'm going to get both of my melee buffs active, and we are just meat grinding through these Scar one by one. And it feels very fantastic. Now the beauty of Anthem, and something that might take some getting used to if you're coming from a game like Destiny or The Division, is that your abilities come back very frequently. So even when you're fighting against small, weak enemies like the Elite Scar Destroyer, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I don't want to waste my abilities on him because he dies so quickly from just regular old bullets, it's beneficial to use your abilities on them anyway because they feed your ultimate. So we're going to throw out our Frost on him, shoot a little bit with our gun, and that's going to give us all our melee buffs, and then we'll lay into him. He unfroze, then we'll freeze him again, go for a melee, and then finish him off with the Seeking Missile combo. Now we got another Elite Scar Enforcer. We'll do the same thing, freeze him up, and then combo with the missile. Sure, why not? So yeah, even against little red bar enemies like this, you still want to use your combos because it's going to help you get your ultimate faster. It might seem like a waste, but it's not. I think that guy put the acid effect on himself. That's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So we've got some Scar reinforcements. This should be the last wave, and I believe we're going to have to fight a targeted, a big Scar. I think we're going to see a Scar Hunter in this pack. We've got both of our buffs running, so let's run in there and get a big slam, see if I can hit. Oof, we got two Scar Enforcers here. That's going to be a little dangerous, but we can freeze them up, go in for the melee, and we've got them both primed. We're just kind of running a little bit wild here, and I knew my shields were going to go down. That was kind of dangerous, so let's pull out and allow our shields to come back. So again, we'll see one of the primary weaknesses for this build is going to be fighting from long range. Our sniper is very strong, but the limited ammunition capacity can prove to be a problem. So we'll freeze that guy up with the sniper. We have our ultimate activated and fire it into the crowd. Refreeze this enforcer one more time. And hit him in the butt for a combo. And there we go. And that's most of the main threats. Those enforcers made things a little bit scary. Oh, we got another wave coming in. Thought that last wave was going to be the last wave, but it's not. So let's go in. Hit that Scar Enforcer, get him primed up. I'm going to go in for one more big hit to to get that shock status effect rolling on as many enemies as possible. Our shields are down, so we're going to pull back, reload our gun before we go back in. We don't have a freeze ready, so I'm going to wait for that, and then we'll dive back into the action. Freeze that guy, go in for the prime, hit that shock status on the enemies. Got just a little bit too many contacts here. I'm gonna have to reset the encounter a little bit. I'll pull back into cover and rethink how I'm gonna approach this. I'll deal with the small scars first, and then I'll worry about the enforcers. Got both our buffs running, then we'll hit the enforcer. Didn't prime him right away. The second hit is going to do so. Can sneak around the back. Now we've got our ultimate. I'll use to clear out the little guys, and it looks like it hit the enforcer as well. Deal with him. We get the reset on our assault launcher ability, the seeking missile, and there we go. Finish off the big guy. Whew, okay. It can be tricky to play Anthem and talk through it at the same time, but sometimes you just gotta reset the situation, fly away, collect yourself, and then get back into the action. We'll throw the freeze. We got a legendary Scar Enforcer this time. He did not get primed from the first hit, but the second one should do so. Now the shock status is on him, and he is shocking all the surrounding guys. Oof, taking a little bit too much damage here. This is not good. Okay, okay. And there we go. We almost got killed there at the end, but we pulled it together and showed off the capabilities of the build. The Frost Grenade provides great crowd control for single targets, and the Seeking Missile is doing phenomenal damage because of our increase to impact damage as well as combo damage. To wrap things up, I hope you enjoyed this build and the showcase of one way that you can play the Ranger. There are so many different gear pieces and masterworks and weapons and components to try out in Anthem, and depending on how you mix and match them, it completely changes your playstyle. There's plenty more that I want to try, but for now we're going to wrap things up here by saying if you enjoyed this video and you want to support the channel more than you already do just by liking, subscribing, watching, and commenting, you can head over to patreon.com/iBluairJgR to become a patron. As always, the name of the game is Anthem, the name of the channel is iBluairJgR. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.